to Nupur Sharma as well. After all, she knocked on the doors of the Supreme Court for the very same rationale, that there are multiple FIRs in multiple states against her for the same offence and the same cause of action. What applies to Zubair should apply to Nupur as well.
The Supreme Court put an end to what it called a vicious circle involving Alt News co-founder Mohammed Zubair, granting interim bail in all 6 cases against him and ordering his release. The Supreme Court said that the bar of arrest must be pursued sparingly. The top court disbanded a special investigation team probe in Uttar Pradesh against Mohammed Zubair and transferred all UP cases against him to Delhi. While the Supreme Court did not cancel the FIRs, it said he was free to approach the Delhi High Court against all the cases, which can be combined into one. The order on transfer of FIRs to Delhi will be applicable to cases in other states and to any future complaints lodged against him. The judges also rejected the Uttar Pradesh government's request that Mohammed Zubair be stopped from putting out tweets. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud said, and I quote, "How can you tell a journalist he cannot write? If he does something that violates the law, then he is answerable to the law. But how can we take anticipatory action against a citizen when he's raising his voice?" Unquote. So will Zubair's release set a precedent? Should the principle of clubbing FIRs and using the power of arrest sparingly apply to all?
All right, on the debate tonight, I'm joined by Smita Prakash, editor ANI, Ratan Sharda, RSS researcher and author joining us, Swapnil Kothari, lawyer, Adil Singh Bopra of the Congress will be joining us as well, and Yashwardhan Azad, former IPS officer. Smita, let me start with you first. Yes, what the court has done today is to uphold a long-standing judicial principle that for the same offence, with the same cause of action, there can only be one FIR, one investigating agency. Therefore, it's clubbed all the UP FIRs and given it to the Delhi Police Special Cell to investigate. Should that same principle apply to whether it is a Nupur or a Rahul or a Rohit or whoever it is? We've seen numerous instances, even in the recent past, for the same offence, multiple FIRs being lodged in multiple states.
Well, Zubair got bail, Nupur won't be arrested. That's what we've learned today. And may I dare to say that one can see a kind of a glasnost in the judiciary. I mean, it's wonderful, of course, that the Honorable Apex Court seems very, very gentle and kind today, sensitive to the rights of civil society. And I'm not being sarcastic, I'm genuinely saying it. There were no caustic comments on Zubair. That was to be expected. But the honorable judges had no caustic comments to make on Nupur either. The FIRs are not quashed on Zubair and not quashed on Nupur's case either. I mean, the investigations will continue in both the cases. And but you know, if the Apex Court has woken up today and wants to do what it is mandated to do, which is that innocents are not harassed, then maybe the lower courts, the judges in the lower courts will also wake up to that and will ensure that citizens are not thrown into jails and not rotting in jails as under trials for years on end. Zaka, what we have here today, or not today, what we are seeing in the past couple of years is that, you know, this perennial problem of constitutional law in conflict with criminal law. Constitutional law focuses on protection of citizens' liberty from state coercion or from, you know, from coercion by a political party, by the bureaucracy or by anybody. Whereas criminal law gives muscle to the state for coercive action. And even when there is a hint of crime that is taking place. And it's clear evidence today that, you know, the courts are now waking up to the fact that it can work both ways. And so while Nupur is facing threat to life, not just from loonies in India, and from abroad also, Zubair's lawyer said today that he too is facing threat of violence.
Yeah.
So if it is clubbing of FIRs and if it is investigation, it should happen technically in both cases.
I want to ask Ratan Sharda this as well. In Zubair's case, he was asked to come to Delhi for a particular case. He was arrested in Delhi first for a case involving a tweet that he put out in 2018 purportedly. And then subsequently, the UP police filed as many as 6 FIRs against him in Lakhimpur, in Sitapur, in Hathras, etc. all of which today the Supreme Court has said at least the UP cases will be clubbed into one and will be investigated by the Delhi police. In Nupur Sharma's case as well, I want to ask Ratan Sharda, she made one offensive statement in one TV debate at one place, but there are offences that have been registered against her from Rajasthan to West Bengal to even in the south. So shouldn't the same principle apply to Nupur Sharma as well?
Zaka, thanks for raising this particular point, because this point was raised earlier also, but nobody took it seriously or people wanted to avoid the question. First of all, I must thank the courts that they have realized that people are being harassed, whether from one side or the other, they are being harassed. And when they were looking at Nupur Sharma case and Zubair case, there is a marked difference. Though the justice at the end of the day was much better than that was meted out to Nupur Sharma in the first hearing. See, justice should be seen not just being done, it should be seen to be done.
Yeah.
Law should be seen equal to all, and not just seen, but also we take the taste of that particular equality before law, which was not so. For example, in case of Nupur Sharma, judges said, what is her business to make those remarks? For Zubair, they said, how can I stop stop him from tweeting? He's not a journalist himself, but the judges claimed he was a journalist. So journalists can make offensive statements perhaps, but others cannot. Politicians cannot. People like me and you cannot. He says her petition smacks of arrogance, while in case of this fellow Zubair, it says subject of fairly sustained probe by police. There are a lot more examples. Single-handedly responsible for what happened in the country, and for Zubair, he says continued detention not justified. So all these things show me that though judges have tried to be equal-handed now, but actually they were not. For example, there is a case, very celebrated case of High Court, T.T. Anthony case, which says that only one FIR can be filed for a particular offence. In case of both, multiple FIRs were fired, but when the clubbing of the cases came, Nupur was handled very, very roughly in a very, very insulting manner, but this person gets the same benefit, which was due to both of them.
Okay.
So when you say, so I would say that yes, I do not believe in harassing people of whichever side with multiple FIRs, but there are clear-cut